Welcome back to Clean with Kate. I thought you might like to join me for a little tour of the cottage garden. In spring we've just come over to the cottage garden to do some work on the garden because I've got some new plants that I've grown that I wanted to plant out. But I thought you might like to join us and a little tour of the garden. So the bit I'm in at the moment is the sort of parking at the cottage. And the cottage is completely enclosed with its own gardens and parking. There's a 5-bar gate that comes into the cottage. And the access is through this through the neighbour's garden actually here, so it's very nice and private. You haven't got any traffic past the cottage or any people walking past the cottage, so you just drive through the neighbour's garden and then you're into the cottage drive. And the garage is open because we've been going in and out getting the tools, so I'm just going to walk you through some of the plantings. So the area here next to the cottage is a bit of a wild area. The log stores here, and there's these enormous pine trees here which have been here forever. I think certainly been here quite a long time, probably at least 70 years. They were definitely here when we came. We've had the cottage now for 20 years. I think I'll just shut the garage door because I don't want the dogs going in the garage, and they're here with us. So I'll just show you this wild area. We're not really sure at the moment what we're doing with this. It's full of wildflowers like this, which I think is a kind of borage, and it's really good for the bees, this particular plant, because it flowers very early. It's also got lots of vinca running through it, some oxeye daisy, and this thing's just seeded itself here. I think we got one of these in the back garden and it's seeded through. I think it's a palm tree. I think it's a baby palm tree. I don't know if I want to leave it there or not. It's getting quite big. There's buddleias in there. It used to be full of hollyhocks, but I made the mistake of putting this vinca in here. And I'm trying to knock it back a bit now because it's kind of smothered all the hollyhocks. But I've got hollyhocks out here, which grow really well in Blakeney. They seem to like the soil here. And then there's more of this wildflower here. So that's the first bit. That's a sort of slightly wild area. And then you've got these silver birches here with ivy and lots of sort of climbing roses that will be coming into flower soon in a month or two. I think that's a rambling rector. And at the gate, I've got lots more climbing roses. This is an absolutely lovely little climbing rose that I planted here when we first bought the property. It has the most beautiful small pink flowers, but you can't really see a lot at this time of year, apart from the lovely sort of pink growth. Anyway, I'm going to take you around the back garden now. So I'm just going to walk down the front of the cottage, which is actually in the shade at the moment. And there's these lovely little celandines here that have just appeared. I don't know if I even planted them, but they're just gorgeous little things. All these little yellow flowers. I think it's a wildflower. And then I've got aqualegia in here that will be coming on later. There's some honesty seedlings. I think this honesty here is going to flower this year. Oh, it's a lovely purple flower. And then there's the house that's absolutely covered, literally covered in this huge Banks luteii climbing rose. So the front of the cottage actually disappears under this every year. And we have to give it a really hard cut back after it's flowered. But it's one of the first roses to flower. You can see it's already budding out. And then here on the step of the cottage, we've got these pot of this beautiful double daffodil, which is, I might have to cut this one off. It's quite a heavy head on it, so it does tend to sometimes, it's maybe been a bit droughted, so it tends to flop. And then either side of the front door, we've got these pots with these plants that I can never remember the name of. I've just given them a water. I love the way they do this. They were newly planted this year. And in the base, we've put these cyclamen out in the garden. These cyclamen have been here for about 70 years. I think they were planted maybe by the original owner who built the cottage, or maybe even further back than that. Anyway, there's the front door. My little window box has got daffodils in. These little tete-a-tetes, when they finish, probably need to give them a water actually, they're quite dry. But when they finish flowering, they're going to go into the garden. Because every year I fill the window box with spring bulbs, and then every year I plant them in the garden. So I'm just going in. There's lots of more plants along the front of the cottage, but they've not done so well this year. But I've come and had a look at these. These are my bay trees that I've been hoping they'll go green. They're still very yellow. So, but hopefully they'll green up this year. There's lots of Japanese anemone here. It's doing so well. I can't believe how healthy this is looking, considering we've not had any rain. And this yellow euphorbia here really pops in this light. But the Japanese anemone, it loves it here and it's spreading out. And what I'm going to do is dig some of this up because it's invading into the drive. I'm going to dig some up and move it into the garden. Okay, so I'm just going to take you through into the rear garden. I'm just going to lock the dogs in. Might as well keep them in one area, it's a lot easier. This is the new gate that we put in this year. Right, so this is a border that we've newly planted in the last 12 months. It used to be grass, but we've actually decided that this would make a really nice border because it was a small border, but we've extended it out because the grass never grew particularly well in this area and the shrubs had kind of overgrown it. So about a year ago, we gave the shrubs a radical prune, including this flowering currant. And also the buddleias had a radical prune. It had completely overgrown the space. Oh my goodness, I think I've got another palm tree in there. I've got to decide whether I want a palm tree in there. So what we've been doing today is we've brought lots of little baby plants over and we've just popped them in the gaps. So there's a verbena gone in there. There's lots of perennial geraniums gone in. And we're just gradually filling this border with sort of natural cottage garden sort of plants. Things that we've grown in our other garden. So really looking forward to seeing what this border will look like this year. And I'm absolutely loving this perennial forget-me-not at the moment. Look at that colour, isn't that incredible? I really need to, I've got 2 of these in here, but I want to propagate more of these and bring it over because it absolutely loves this shady end of the border. So I've planted quite a few spring bulbs in there. And then over here I've got a flowering shrub. Look at that. But what I need to do, it's absolutely full of ivy here. And we need to hack this ivy out so that the shrub does better. But look at that, isn't that gorgeous? It's almost coming to an end, but the scent off it is absolutely incredible. Oh golly, that's amazing. What else have I got going on in here? Oh, I need to water this. I've actually got a cowslip here. I think it's one I grew because we had to have them at home, but it's looking very droughted because we haven't had rain in about a month, maybe longer. So I do need to water that little cowslip because I think that's the only cowslip I've got. If you have a look here, you can see I've got all these little primroses, but again, something's been digging in here, I think, and they're quite wilted. Everything's looking incredibly droughted, apart from this, which is looking very good. I'm going to split this year. This is a giant snowflake. It's almost like an enormous snowdrop, and it flowers around the same time as the snowdrops, and it flowers for ages. It's still flowering, but I'm going to split this year. It's really easy to propagate this. So I'm going to dig the whole clump up when it's finished flowering and then spread it all over the garden because it does really well. It's drought resistant. Sorry, I'm in my own shadow, aren't I? It's drought resistant and it just grows really well in Norfolk. It seems to like the dry soil. So it's drought resistant, it's shade resistant. It'll grow in full sun. You can grow this absolutely anywhere. I'm a really big fan of this plant. All right, what else have I got going on? Oh, I've got a lovely empty compost heap, nearly empty compost heap, which is nice. I've got all that I can fill up. And then I've got making another heap of compost over here. I could really do with a 3rd compost heap because I think I'll probably fill that this year. And this is a sort of wildflower bank. We're trying to get a bit more variety in here this year because last year it got taken over completely by one plant. I think this plant is called, is it Good King Henry? And it has these massive flower spikes, but then it seeds everywhere. So what I've done, I've put perennial geranium in here. I've got borage, I've got honesty. I'm trying to get a bit more of a variety in here rather than just having a lot of one plant. Ah, there's one. That's what it looks like. This thing. So it's absolutely spectacular plant, and you see it a lot in North Norfolk along the coast, but actually I mustn't let it seed this year because it has completely taken over this border. So I am actually trying to reclaim that border, this sort of wild area in the garden, because I've got lots of these lovely little things. I think these are celandines, correct me if I'm wrong, and I've got snowdrops and I've got daffodils, although they haven't flowered this year because they got completely swamped last year by the Good King. Is it Good King Henry? Or let me know if you know what the name of that enormous wildflower is. The bees love it, the insects and the hoverflies love it, but it's just I can't let it seed this year. There's just too much of it. I think we've got a ladybird there, have we? Yeah, a ladybird. Ladybirds have come out of hibernation. The weather's been so warm and sunny that everything's coming out of hibernation. The garden's just full of insects, which is lovely to see. And then I thought I'd come back and show you this. This Amalankia is just about opening up this weekend in the warm sun. It's just lovely. So I love this tree. It's a really good small tree for a smaller garden. It takes a long time to get to this size. This one's probably about 75 years old, but it's absolutely spectacular. And then in the autumn, it has the most beautiful autumn colours. So I love being here in April and seeing this tree. And then over here, we've got another palm tree. The palm tree is kind of, it's something you expect at the coast, but it is a bit of a pain because it drops these huge palm leaves down, which don't compost. So I have to sort of collect them up and put them, they're really good for starting fires with. Having said that, they're good fire lighters, but they take probably 10 years to compost. They just take forever. They're too fibrous for the compost heap, I would say. You could use them as your base for your compost heap. And then I've got a little flowering, I think this is just an offshoot off the other flowering cherry. I've got 2 flowering cherries. This one's just a seedling, I think. Are we going to keep that? I think we are. And then we've got another huge cherry in the corner, which is not coming to flower yet. I think they're 2 different varieties, because the one in the corner is a double. This might have come off its root, because this is just a little single one. I'm not sure. It's got lovely coloured foliage though. And then I've got under here, under the flowering pear, we've had lots of spring bulbs. We've had snowdrops and cyclamen. Oh, sorry, it's very sunny here. Sun's in my eyes. And then along here, we've got all this lime green euphorbia. It's absolutely spectacular colour with an underplanting of snowdrops, which have now finished flowering. So my goal this year is I've got a bit of ground elder here. I need to gradually get rid of the ground elder, and then I'm going to plant this with wildflowers and bulbs, and I'm going to spread the snowdrops out more, so that I think this will be absolutely gorgeous then. Oh, I don't know what that is. It looks like a hyacinth's got stuck in there. But in years to come, I think this could be a really nice bank of primroses. That's the plan anyway. So let's go back over here. I'm not sure what this amazing orange thing is. Please do let me know if you know. It's never flowered as well as this before, but we cut some shrubs back, and then this thing has just gone like this. It's just spectacular. Because most of the year it looks nothing. I think is it a pyracantha? It could be a pyracantha. But golly, is it worth growing? I had no idea it was this good. I must have planted it, but quite a long time ago. And I think I actually planted it at the base of this other shrub. And this shrub had got so huge. I mean, it was literally filling the whole end of this garden. And last year we decided to take a chainsaw to it and give it a really radical prune. And look what we've been rewarded with. I was on the point of taking this shrub out because I just thought it was, I don't know, a green, evergreen shrub. But golly, I'm glad I left it in because it's just amazing, and it's covered in bees and things. They absolutely love it. So what else have I got to show you? Oh, look at this. This is a flowering currant. And again, look at the size of those flowers and the colour. Sorry, I've got a whinging puppy. The size of these flowers on this flowering currant, absolutely beautiful. Just going to pause a minute. I've popped the poppy in, so I'm just showing you this flowering currant. Most of the year it's just a very nondescript bush, but in spring it rewards you with these absolutely incredible flowers. So I would say it's definitely worth growing. This one had quite a radical prune last year, but it's really seems to have benefited. It's really easy to grow. It doesn't require a lot of care. Right, what's going on in this border? I think this is a lilac. Again, we did give all the prunes, all the shrubs in the garden a really radical prune last year, because what we were finding was things like this rose were just not getting any light. So if you have a lot of bigger shrubs in your garden, but you have other things as well, it is periodically you do need to give them a bit of a prune, a bit of a haircut, and you can be fairly radical with most of these things. And again, there's another rose here which is doing so much better since we gave the shrubs a prune. I do need to get in here and do a bit of tidying up. It's a bit unkempt in here. I've got spring bulbs, I've got alliums coming on, and here again another shrub that's had a radical prune. This is a buddleia, but you can see how it was pruned last autumn, and you can see how well it's coming back now in the spring. And these bulbs were planted last autumn. We concentrated on white bulbs and put several sacks of different varieties in. This one I think is probably my favourite at the moment. This is a bulb called Thalia, I believe, and I think this might be Ice Follies. I'm not sure what else is in there. I think there was a couple of doubles have somehow sneaked in. And then there's an underplanting of a few tete-a-tetes, and I planted some white tulips in here, which are just coming up between them. So it's quite a mixed planting, but at dusk and dawn, this just pops, absolutely pops against the backdrop of the flint wall and the shrubs. And you can see how healthy this rose is looking. I gave this a really good feed about a couple of weeks ago, and already it's budding up. And then at the base of this, I've got some more of these beautiful, beautiful spring flowers. I think it's a celandine. Maybe there's another flower that looks similar. And then I've got this incredible little miniature narcissi that I can't actually remember the name of. I think I just bought up one single pot of that, but isn't that beautiful? And I popped them in here so I'd see them. And then there's another fancy narcissi here that I bought a pot in the garden centre this year. I'm not sure what that one's called. And then if we go over here, I've got some other fancy narcissi that I bought in a garden centre. And that's just such a lovely scented little narcissi. I've got lots of Japanese anemones coming on in here, but look at this rose. I think I need to give it a good feed. It's not looking as healthy as this one. So we're gonna go round and just see what's happening over here. We've been sitting in the sun, it's been wonderful, but this rosemary is just incredible. It's just been, this afternoon, it's been alive with bees. Let's see if we can see them without getting stung. Look at that. Woo! So we've been sat on the sun lounges, and this rosemary has just been buzzing. They're starting to slow down now because it's cooling down, so they'll be going back to wherever they go in the evening. But isn't that lovely to see? Because last year we did notice there weren't as many bees in the summer, but it looks like we're going to have a better year this year. I think the thing is we had a very wet spring last year, and I don't think that's good for bees. But this lovely dry spring has been really good for them. This garden is we are pollinator friendly. We look after them. We don't use insecticides, and we plant lots of things that give early and late pollen. So there's plenty for the bees to eat. Anyway, I think I'll finish there. I'll just give you a little view back into the garden. It's a beautiful day, and I'm doing some deadheading on the daffodils. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Bye for now.